Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3687BN. Today's date is July 16th, 2025, and the title of the episode is Deep State is Trapped in Their Trap. All three movies playing at the same time. Stage set. Let's talk about our health. The science is in. A clinical trial found that just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks led to a roughly 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while also visibly reducing wrinkle depth. If you want to help improve your skin health, it's clear that collagen is essential. This is why I use the Secret Magical Powder, and I'm obsessed with the results. Multi-Collagen provides my skin with 5 types of premium collagen to help attack wrinkles from every angle. I'm seeing smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and more youthful glow. Plus, Multi-Collagen mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. There's no clumping and zero added flavor. Do yourself a big favor and grab yourself a bag of Ageless Multi-Collagen now for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, by ordering today, you'll also receive free VIP life health and fitness coaching for life and a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this offer is only available at healthwithx22.com. That's healthwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can see Trump now has trapped them in their own trap. And I do believe, going back a little bit in time, that the deep state players, they set everything up with the Epstein files to trap Trump. Yes, they had some type of documentation. Did they manipulate it? Of course they did. It's just like the Russian collusion, the Alpha Bank hoax, impeachment number 1, number 2, everything that they have done. I do believe this was all set up to try to bog Trump down and actually destroy what he's trying to do. And this time around, Trump realized, because they look at the evidence, and you have to go back a little bit in time, Trump actually started the investigation into Epstein going all the way back to 2019. And I do believe there is an investigation going on right now with other agencies. See, after the agencies do their investigation, it is then handed off to who? The Department of Justice. Then the Department of Justice goes ahead and moves forward with the indictments. They bring it to trial. So I do believe that Trump now is investigating. He has been investigating. And I do believe the information that he has is very, very different than what the deep state wants him to produce. And when you start to look around, you can see the Democrats, you can see other individuals like Stephen King. They're all pushing the idea that it's time to bring out the Epstein files. Now, of course, what Trump has done, he has created chaos within all of this. And people say, well, why would he do that? Because you have to remember, he is waging a war with the deep state players. He's using information war. And basically, he follows the strategy of the art of the deal or art of war. And part of his strategy is basically strategic positioning, psychological leverage, competitive advantage, and setting traps for these individuals. And I do believe what he did right now is he created the chaos that he needed to actually trap the deep state players in their own trap. And this is why we talked about the art of the deal just going back a couple of days or maybe even a week ago, because again, he uses it in a way that no one can really understand. It looks like chaos. It looks everything's disorganized. It looks like Cash and Bongino and Bondi, they're all not on the same page. This is done on purpose to create this entire narrative in the news network amongst individuals to bring what you want out there. Before, no one was really talking about Epstein. Now everyone wants to see Epstein information. Now, again, the deep state players believe that they have the narrative on this. They believe they got Trump on this, but Trump basically let everyone know, no, the documents that they set up, oh, no, this is from Obama. This is from the deep state players. The same people from Russian collusion, same people from what they tried to do to me over the last 8 years. It's the same people. Oh, I will be releasing it, but it's not going to be this information. It's going to be different information that we've been investigating. So basically, Trump right now, he's outmaneuvering the deep state players. And how does he do this? He does it with leverage, perception, bold moves, psychological tactics. This all comes from his book. And this is what he's using on the deep state players. Now, of course, He knew what was going to happen with the MAGA people. Now, you have the true MAGA people, and then you have the people that pretend to be MAGA. Remember those people that all of a sudden dropped Trump and they all went to DeSantis? Those are pretend MAGA people. They'll drop Trump in a second. What Trump is doing right now, he wants the true MAGA people to think logically. He wants those people to really think about what he's doing right now and then use that information. And that information will then help other people to start to understand. And I do believe that's what Trump is doing right now. And that's what his message is to all the true MAGA people. Just be patient. Just wait. These other individuals, they are not true MAGA. They are shills. They're people that might be paid off. And they're trying to lead everyone down the wrong path. And I think in the end, Trump will actually, like he's done in the past, he's going to show everyone that he is right once again. And think about what he's doing. We were told this. There are going to be 3 movies playing at the same exact time. We're going to see the pedophile movie, the human trafficking, child trafficking, Epstein. It's not just Epstein. It's those people above him. Those are the people that are more significant than Epstein. We're going to see the Russian collusion, FISAgate. There's going to be Panic in D.C. All these movies are going to be playing at the same time. Remember, Trump let us know that a storm is coming. Do you think the storm is just releasing some FISA information? Or do you think the storm is everything at the same time where the deep state can't function with all of this being put out there? And remember, as Trump releases this information, it gives people time to digest it, people to do a little bit of research, people to say, okay, what's going on here? Why are people making a big deal about Epstein? What's going on with Brennan and Comey and the rest? What's happening here? Because now I'm starting to see evidence. I'm starting to see the opposite of what the fake news has been telling me for a very long time. So I do believe Trump and the Patriots, what they're doing right now, they are setting the stage. And Trump this time around was not trapped, not bogged down by the deep state players. And yes, there are certain individuals that are trying to force him to do something. They're trying to force him into what the deep state wants. And yes, it might even be those individuals that look like MAGA. They just want it done. But again, Trump is on his own timeline. Trump is going to produce what he wants to produce, and it's going to be the real evidence. It's not going to be the evidence the deep state has produced. And what happens if the evidence actually is the source? What happens if it's not just pieces of paper? What happens if he produces individuals and they testify? That is going to be a game changer. And I do believe this is where all this is leading right now. We're going to be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about what is going on with the border and the ICE agents, because we could see right now the deep state players, they are doxing the ICE law enforcement agents, and they're putting their families in harm's way, their wives in harm's way, themselves in harm's way. And the deep state players, they are definitely pushing this. And you can see that this is building and building and building. Homeland Security put this out and said another disgusting doxing incident. Not only is our ICE law enforcement facing a 700% increase in assaults against them, but we've also seen thugs attempting to reveal ICE officers' identities and even target their families and children. Secretary Noem has made it clear, if you dox, you're going to be arrested, you're going to jail. Andy Ngo responded to this and said, Portland Antifa have been posting the home addresses and photos of ICE agents on flyers across the city and writing them as graffiti in busy public areas. And all these people should be arrested. This is very, very dangerous in what they're doing. But you can see the insurrection has never, ever ended. Since they had the insurrection going back to January 6th, see, now it's starting to make a little bit more sense. Since they had the insurrection back then, they never stopped. And they're still having the insurrection against a sitting president. And this is what Trump and the Patriots are really fighting against. They're fighting against this insurgency. Remember, the insurgency started when Obama became the president of the United States. He installed himself. And that's when the insurgency happened. And then they moved it into an insurrection on January 6th. And since that time, they've continually been having the insurrection against the sitting president. And that sitting president is President Trump, because once they overthrew the United States government in 2020, he became the commander in chief. The resident was put into place to wake the people up, to actually show the people what happens when you have an overthrow of the United States government and when you put a puppet government into place. And I think the people, They saw it very, very clearly in what happens. And now Trump is in the process of deporting all these illegals that they brought in. And this actually gives him the ability to remove the deep state system that they have in place. Think about it. Think about the judiciary right now. Since Trump now is deporting, he exposed the judiciary, which allows him now to remove all of these judges. Of course, yes, we need the House and the Senate, and these people will be impeached. They will be removed. But it also gives him the ability to remove immigration judges. So right now, 15 immigration judges were informed they will be let go, with their employment ending on July 22nd as part of a broader cut to immigration court personnel. The immigration judges across 6 states, the Department of Justice, the Executive Office for Immigration Review, and the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers. The terminations were announced via email in July, affecting judges in Massachusetts, Illinois, Ohio, Texas, New York, and California. Who do you think Trump is going to replace these judges with? Because remember, these judges, they were slow walking everything. So he's clearing out all the immigration judges, and he's going to be installing new immigration judges into all these different locations. And think about the states that they were removed from: Massachusetts, Illinois, Ohio, Texas, New York, and California. Very, very interesting. And soon we will remove the federal judges from the judiciary as soon as we get control of the House and the Senate. I do believe that's very, very important. So basically what Trump is doing now is he's removing the system. Now, how can he do this? Well, the people want deportation. The people are going along with it. The people are behind him. Because, again, the deep state players created an insurgency. Trump has created a counterinsurgency. And once you have the people and once you have the military on your side, you can do all of these things, which is very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is that people now are calling for the Epstein files. And I do believe the Epstein files, these are the deep state files. The client list is the deep state files. And I do believe they set this up on purpose to trap Trump. And Trump, with his team, when they started to look through all this, comparing it to his investigation that he started in 2019, that's continuing now with the DHS, which I do believe that they see that most of this stuff is deep state garbage. And I do believe that they were going to use this to bog him down and actually trap him in all of this. And Trump right now, he decided, you know something, I'm going to call them out on it. Yes, it's going to look terrible. It's going to look chaotic. But you know what? In the end, it's going to work to his benefit. And that's what's going to happen over time. You're going to see that, yes, in the beginning it looks terrible, but eventually what you're going to see is that, wait a minute, it was a deep state trap. Wait a minute, it was Russian collusion 2.0. Wait a minute, Trump now has a different investigation going on, and now he's producing other evidence that actually traps them. And you could see that he has the D's, he has influencers, he has the news, he has all these people calling for the Epstein files. Well, they're going to get the Epstein files, but it's not going to be the files they think they were going to get. That's the trick right there. And he created all of this via chaos. Isn't that interesting? Now, the other thing that's really interesting is that they released the video of Epstein in prison. Not him exactly, but, you know, that video that's missing like one minute. Now, they did this, I do believe, on purpose. They knew there was a cut. Everyone can see it. I mean, they're not stupid. But they did it on purpose. This raises a lot of questions. And it gets people to start talking. Also, it gives them a nice out. The prison told us that this is the footage. The prison told us that all the cameras reset. Bondi told us that we are going to see if every single video has this cut. Now, when they come out and they say, listen, this is the only video that has this cut at this time. No other video has it in the past, and no other video has it in the future. So this is kind of strange. Plus, we're starting to learn that it wasn't just a minute that was cut. It was actually 3 minutes that was cut. Wired put this out and said the following. Metadata from the raw Epstein prison video shows approximately 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed from one of 2 stitched together clips. The cut starts right at the missing minute. So wait a minute, there's something much, much bigger than originally reported, what people really saw. So now, Bondi Trump team, they can say, listen, we looked at this and something is wrong. And this will allow them to come right back in saying that we were lied to. This is very, very interesting because we know exactly what happened. Epstein didn't kill himself. What happens if Trump and team actually rescued Epstein before they got to him? I don't know if that truly happened, but what happens if it did? That would be very interesting. Now, there's a lot of people out there saying, listen, oh, look, see, the Republicans, they didn't want the Epstein files. They didn't want an investigation. They voted this down. But again, the D's, they were trapping everyone. How were they trapping everyone in a vote? Karma Patriot explains. Teachable moment with George Santos. Republicans didn't vote against exposing the Epstein files today. They voted against a previous question, which is a procedural vote that would have surrendered the House of Representatives floor to the Democrats. That would have meant that the Dems took control of the House floor and could have rammed anything to the floor, including impeachments and any other ridiculous idea they could have come up with. It was a trap. In the history of our country, no majority party has ever voted on the previous question and surrendered the floor to the minority party. Don't let the influencers get in your head. Nobody voted against releasing the Epstein files today. Members voted against a previous questions and avoided a trap that was laid by the enemy. So once again, you can see what is happening right now. Because again, the D's, with everything that has been said about Epstein and everything else, they needed control. They needed to take control of everything. This is part of their trap. This is why Trump called it out from the very, very beginning. He wanted everyone to understand and realize, look, this is a trap from the deep state players. This is Russian collusion 2.0, but we can call it Epstein. And we're not falling for it this time around. Now, there were a lot of people that jumped on the bandwagon, a lot of people that said, oh, look what's happening right now. Trump doesn't want to release this information. I don't believe that's true whatsoever. I do believe he wants to release information because this information coordinates with Russian collusion and everything else. Because again, if you're going to manipulate elections, if you're going to push Russian collusion, if you're going to do all these things, you have to blackmail judges, you have to blackmail prosecutors, you have to blackmail other low-level people, you have to blackmail politicians, you have to blackmail certain individuals in the news networks. If you're going to push COVID, if you're going to push anything, you have to use blackmail. How do they use blackmail? This all goes back to Epstein. So I don't mean Epstein himself. I mean those people that are behind the scenes. They're the ones who are really doing all of this. So I do believe that this is all tied together. And yes, he's going to release information, and it's going to be in coordination with the release of everything else. So you can see how they actually are able to do these things, how they're able to cheat in the election, how they're able to overthrow the United States government, how they're able to push the Russian collusion, how they're able to push indictments when Trump was running for election, how they're able to attempt an assassination on Trump. So you're going to see how this is all connected because it really is. And every step of the way, what Trump is doing right now, he's dismantling and exposing the entire deep state system. And all you need to do is be a little bit patient, watch the show, and you're going to start to see things go in the direction that you want them to go in. Sometimes it looks a little scary. Sometimes it looks a little messy. But again, this is all part of Trump's art of the deal plan. This is what he does because he's positioning himself and he's going to have the leverage that he needs. Again, this is not about a 4-year election, 8-year election. This is about destroying and dismantling the deep state players completely. That's what this is all about, and taking back this country. And by the way, removing the Federal Reserve. And what people are starting to realize is that the Federal Reserve, this is the source of all the problems. This is how they get their money. This is how they fund everything. This is how they're able to exist. And sooner or later, all of this is going to come to an end. But again, you have to educate the people. You have to make sure that people understand. And you can see that one of the steps is removing the propaganda outlets. And that's what Trump is doing right now. And it looks like J.D. Vance, he had a tie-breaking vote in the Senate. Praying Manning put this out and said, J.D. Vance cast the tie-breaking vote in the Senate to advance $9 billion in DOGE cuts for NPR, PBS, and USAID. So now it is law. These different agencies are going to be defunded, which is actually going to shut down the deep state system. He's dismantling it every step of the way. And DOJ has announced that over the weekend, the agencies have terminated more federal contracts worth as much as $2.8 billion. Absolutely amazing. And some of these contracts are very, very odd, just like we've seen all the other contracts. Here's one of them from the U.S. Department of Agriculture for a Mexico Sustainable Landscape Consultant and a Treasury Department contract for mentoring, evaluation, learning specialist services in Haiti. Remember, these programs, the contracts that they set up, they're cover for the money laundering operation. And really no money is really going to any of these things. They just needed to make up things so they can launder the money. And this way they can say, look, this is the contract. This is what we're helping out in Haiti, in Mexico. And everything was funneled through USAID into the NGOs. And now you can see that DOJ is shutting it all down. And as time goes on, we're going to see more and more of it shut down. Basically, in the end, Trump is going to be shutting down all the agencies, removing all the personnel, shrinking the government to almost nothing. And once he does that and removes the funding, and the funding comes from the Federal Reserve, the open-ended credit card, once he removes that, they will not be able to reestablish their criminal syndicate. It will be completely and utterly impossible to do because they won't have the money. Money drives all of this. No one's going to do it without money. You need the money to drive the criminal system. You think the mafia operates with no money? You think any cartel operates with no money? No, they all have to operate with money. And they figured out a way to get as much money as they could get. It's never ending. It will never, ever end. I mean, can you imagine having that power? Having the ability to fund your criminal syndication with unlimited funds. How big do you think the criminal syndicate would get if you had unlimited funds? Just look at the U.S. government. Just look at what they created. It's much, much larger than you actually think. It's not just in D.C. It's almost the entire country and a lot of different countries around the world. This is how big it has gotten. This is why it's been so difficult for each president who went up against the deep state players like Reagan, like JFK. This is why it's been so difficult to remove them, because it's very difficult to battle a system that has their hands in almost everything, that a system that they're entrenched in. Trump has figured out a way of beating them, and they never saw it coming. See, they like a battle head on. He didn't go directly at them, and he had the ability to fight them every single step of the way. Every time they tried to hit him, he was too strong for them, and he didn't fold. And he was able to weather the storm every step of the way. They never, ever expected that. And I do believe Trump, he's going to finish the entire mission, and he's going to bring peace around the world. And we can see right now, Trump now, he is the middleman between Zelensky and Putin. And Trump now, he's making NATO, he's making the EU states, countries, he's making them purchase all the weapons. And eventually what's going to happen is they're not going to have the money to continue to push this war. The only reason the war was going, we go back to the same thing, money. Where was Biden getting all the money? Where was Obama getting all the money? Oh, that's right, from the Federal Reserve. They were able to give that money to where? To Ukraine. They were able to continually give aid to them to keep it going. Trump pretty much just shut it down. Because again, do you think the EU is going to support this? You think all the EU nations are going to support this? Absolutely not. And it's going to be very, very difficult for NATO and the EU nations to continually buy weapons from the United States. Which means, because remember, most of the EU nations, they don't have weapons that they can deliver to Ukraine. So this is going to be a major, major problem. Plus, Trump has already give Putin an ultimatum. He gave him 50 days. And 50 days, I do believe he gave that time because he's going to draw down this war to almost nothing. And the last thing is, hey, Putin, what are you going to do? They can't fight anymore. They can't buy any more weapons. They got no more money. They're struggling right now. Are you ready for peace? Now, he might say yes, he might say no, but I do believe he gave 50 days. It's almost 2 months. And we'll see what Putin does because, again, Trump made himself a middleman. He removed the war from the United States and put it on NATO and the EU nations. And now it's NATO and the EU nations fighting Putin. And he's just the middle guy. I'll bring peace. What do you want to do? And what's very interesting is that Trump slammed a reporter who questioned his 50-day ultimatum to Putin. And this is how the conversation went. The reporter asked Trump, why are you giving Mr. Putin 50 additional days to prosecute this war against Ukraine? Trump said, no, I don't think 50 days is very long, and it could be sooner than that. I don't think 50 days is very long. You should have asked the same question to Joe Biden. Why did he get us into this war? You should ask that question. Then the reporter off camera answered that he had asked the former president. Yeah, and what did he tell you? Trump said. Why did he get us into this war? You know why he got us into the war? Because he's a dummy. That's why. And you don't cover it, right? You should be asking that question to Biden. Why did he get us into the war? Because he's incompetent. It would have never happened if I were president. And once again, he just basically destroyed. Hey, are you struggling with hair shedding or thinning at the root? It might be more than just stress or age. Hormonal imbalances, nutrient gaps, and poor scalp circulation can all disrupt healthy hair growth. That's why the wellness company created Roots, your daily duo for hair loss support. This powerful bundle includes a supplement and topical hydrogel that work together to nourish your scalp and accelerate hair growth in weeks. The supplement delivers B vitamins, ashwagandha, saw palmetto, and other targeted nutrients to balance hormones, reduce shedding, to enhance healthy growth. The hydrogel formula consists of 7 peptides, methylene blue, and advanced aquasome technology to stimulate follicles and boost visible thickness. Thousands trust Roots to restore their confidence. Head to twc.health/X22 and use code X22 to get 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that is twc.health/X22 and use code X22 to get 10% off, or just click the link in the description. The reporters. Because again, they're trying to push gotcha questions. And if you notice, the entire Trump team right now, it looks like they were trained to handle all of these reporters because it's very, very different between 2016 and 2020 compared to 2024 to present. They're able to shut down the reporters, the propaganda networks, because again, before they were trying to defend. Now they're changing it up and making the reporters defend their questions. And they're starting to, and they are not starting, but they are looking really, really stupid right now. And I think this is just going to get better and better as time goes on. Absolutely amazing. Now, the other thing that we can see is that the Minnesota political assassin, Vance Bolter, he actually wrote a letter and he said he was instructed to kill these people by Tim Walz. So this is very, very interesting. So Bolter alleges he was part of a clandestine political plot. He claims he was trained off the books by the U.S. military and deployed globally from Asia to Africa. He states that the governor, Tim Walz, personally approached him to eliminate Democrat Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith to clear a path for Walz to run for the U.S. Senate. Bolter confesses to the killings of Hortmans and the attempted murders of the Hoffmans, positioning himself as a foot soldier in secret operations allegedly directed by the governor. So everything revolves around the governor, which is very, very interesting. But let's see how this all plays out. Let's see what happens here. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is that Crowds on Demand. Now, this company, basically, they're hired to actually push protests. So they have people, agitators, other people standing by to actually create the protests that you see. And the Crowds on Demand CEO says his company rejected a $20 million offer to recruit anti-Trump protesters for nationwide demonstrations. He says he was worried about violent agitators. So that is very interesting. So the protests that you see, like nationwide, like the No King's Day, well, you could see that these were paid for by the deep state players. And it's very interesting. He never said who approached him with the $20 million, but you could see they wanted something to be kicked off the ground. And $20 million, not that much of money to actually push this. So I do believe the deep state players, they're probably in trouble right now if they're asking this guy to push this. But we'll have to see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that we can see is that there's an investigation going on with Russian collusion right now. We know this from John Solomon. And we could see that the FBI is now looking into Brennan, looking into Comey. And I do believe Trump now is building the narrative, and he's letting everyone know that there's other players that are involved in this. And he's not saying, hey, look, these people were directly involved in Russian collusion, not just yet. But I do believe what he's doing, he's building up the narrative, showing that these people are criminals. These people, they are not upstanding citizens. And basically, they ran scams. And I do believe this is going to build the narrative to show that these people were part of everything that we saw during the period of Trump from 2016 to 2020. And even now, Trump, he put this out and said, I've always suspected Shifty Adam Schiff was a scam artist. And now I learned that Fannie Mae's Financial Crimes Division have concluded that Adam Schiff has engaged in a sustained pattern of possible mortgage fraud. Adam Schiff said that his primary residence was in Maryland to get a cheaper mortgage and rip off America when he must live in California because he was a congressman from California. I always knew Adam Schiff was a crook. The fraud began with refinance of his Maryland property on February 6, 2009, and continued through multiple transactions until the Maryland property was correctly designated as a second home on October 13, 2020. Mortgage fraud is a very serious and crooked. Adam Schiff, now a senator, needs to be brought to justice. So think about it. We have Peekaboo Letitia James, we have Adam Schiff, and we also have the head of the Fed all being investigated by Bill Pulte. Isn't that interesting? So everything that they said Trump did with his properties, these people actually did. Remember, they always project what they have done onto others like Trump and many others. So Trump now is just returning the favor, and it looks like he has Bill Pulte looking into all of these people's transactions, and this is the beginning of the narrative to show that these people are criminals. And yes, once you see this crime, you'll see another crime, you'll see how they're part of Russian collusion, and you'll see that they're all part of the criminal syndicate. And you can see it's building and building and building. But you can see the deep state players, they are panicking right now because, again, Biden had no idea who was using the auto pen. It was the deep state players that overthrew the United States government. And now you can see that his doctor has pled the fifth. Now we see Anthony Burnell, Joe Biden's longtime aide. He's pleading the fifth because they're panicking. Remember, these are the criminals. The cover-up always gets you in the end. And the White House now is investigating the growing Biden auto pen scandal. The White House counsel's office is expected to review over 1 million documents. The National Archives has already handed over more than 27,000 documents to investigators. And I do believe in the end, we're going to find out that he should have never been in this position. He should have been removed a long time ago. And all these documents, they're all null and void. Wait until people find out that these individuals that used the auto pen, these individuals that installed the puppet in 2020, wait until everyone figures out that they overthrew the United States government. Oh, this is going to be very, very interesting as we move forward. But the other thing that's really interesting is that a memo was released, and these DC judges, they admit that they're biased against the Trump administration. Todd Blanche put this out and said, a newly revealed memo confirms that at least some federal judges were predisposed against the Trump administration. This is a serious breach of the judicial oath and a threat to the rule of law. Every litigant, regardless of politics, is entitled to a fair forum. And I do believe all of this is being built up. Why? Because in the end, we're going to be getting rid of a lot of these judges. Once we take control of the House, once we take control of the Senate, all of these judges are going to be removed. And we could see that the Supreme Court once again handed Trump a victory. We mentioned this a couple days ago. And now Trump, he's able to dismantle the Department of Education. And remember, Trump has always had the power. He just wants the Supreme Court to rule in his favor, because if this is ever tried again, he set a precedent for every other president down the line. There's no argument. There's no hemming and hawing. No, the executive branch has the authority to do all of these things. Trump, he put this out and said, the United States Supreme Court has handed a major victory to parents and students across the country by declaring the Trump administration may proceed on returning the functions of the Department of Education back to the states where they belong. Now, with this great Supreme Court decision, our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, may begin this very important process. The federal government has been running our education system into the ground, but we're going to turn it all around by giving the power back to the people. America's students will be the best, brightest, and most highly educated anywhere in the world. Thank you to the United States Supreme Court. And this is what our founding fathers originally wanted. But again, think about what the deep state does. Think about what the central bank does. They want everything centralized. So let's see, centralize education, centralize the CDC, the FDA, centralize the creation of currency, centralize the police force, centralize everything into the federal government. Now Trump is decentralizing everything. This way, it removes their power. This is why our founding fathers did it, because they didn't want the federal government to have all the power. They wanted the power at the state level. Now Trump is reversing everything that they did and actually getting a ruling from the Supreme Court. Now, the other thing that we can see is that this whole Epstein thing is becoming a very big deal. And the people out there are starting to learn. Now, think about it. Yes, people that have been following Epstein, people that have been saying, oh, I can't wait till this happens, you've been on top of it. But most of the people in their everyday life, they've never, they might have heard of Epstein, but they forgot. They don't really care. And now they're starting to hear Epstein. The fake news is pushing Epstein. I do believe Trump basically allowed all this to happen, all this chaos, because what better way to inform the people and what better way to get this out into the public realm and actually trap the deep state players in their own trap? I believe that's exactly what he did. And Mike Lee says, would you like to see Ghislaine Maxwell testify before Congress about everything she knows about Jeffrey Epstein? He goes, I'm not aware of any member of Congress from either party who opposed to having Ghislaine Maxwell testify. Isn't that interesting? Remember, the D's, they don't mind because they were informed that the Epstein files would not hurt anybody. So they're on board with, hey, yeah, let's have Ghislaine Maxwell. Let's have her testify. Let's have the information out there. Trump trapped the deep state in their own trap. That's not the information they're going to get. But Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt. Again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agency, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had to come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made-up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They're no good at governing, no good at policy, no good at picking win candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this bullshit, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I've had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about, with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems, is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Now think about it. He's going off on everyone that's falling for the D's hoax. Because has anyone learned their lesson? You really not trust Trump in what he's going to do? You think he went through all this to actually fold right now? He went through the Russia collusion, the Alpha Bank hoax. He went through 2 impeachment hoaxes. He went through all the indictments, all the money that he had to spend on all this. There was an attempted assassination, and everyone is getting pissed off because their expectations aren't being met. They're falling once again for the D propaganda. I do believe, yes, he's going to make good on everything that he has said. He's going to bring these people to justice, but it might not be on your timeline. Remember, the D's are pushing a certain timeline. He's telling you we should not be on this timeline. And again, he's not running for election again. So does it matter to him? His mission is not to get votes. His mission is to take back this country. His main mission is to restore the power to the people. So he's not doing this for votes. He's not doing it to make people happy. He's doing it so he can actually return the power to the people and bring all of these people to justice. And he's already let you know that, yes, it's all a made-up hoax. This was done by the D's, but again, we will have credible evidence. That's the key word, credible evidence. Disclosed TV put this out and said, Trump repeats that the Epstein files are made up Democrat hoax. Sean Davis responds and said, that's not at all what he said. He said the files everyone wants to see were made during the Obama and Comey eras, suggesting there may be a bunch of crap in there that's not credible. So basically, he's going to bring out the credible evidence, not the stuff that they put in there to trap Trump once again. And this is how you know the deep state players put crap in the Epstein files. And this is how you know they want this release right now. Representative Hank Johnson says release the Epstein files. He actually made a song about it. I think this was the guy that said, listen, if we put a lot of equipment on Guam on one side, the island will tip over. I mean, really think about this for a second. Kevin Spacey said, release the Epstein files, all of them. For those of us with nothing to fear, the truth can't come soon enough. I hate to make this about me, but the media already has. So that's interesting. And then we have Stephen King. The Epstein client list is real. So is the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus. So it seems that all these people, they're coming out saying, go ahead, release it. It's not real. Bring it out. It seems like they know that they've been protected. And Trump is letting everyone know that this is fake. It's not real. Wait until I release the real evidence. This is why the D's, this is why there's certain people on social media, this is why the fake news and all the D's and everyone else and other people are pushing this, because they want this out there to bog Trump down, but it's not working. Do people want the actual evidence? Absolutely. Rasmussen Reports put this out and said, roughly 2/3 of every political category, 68% of Democrats, 66% of Republicans, and 69% of unaffiliated voters reject the idea that the Epstein case is closed and instead believe that there are dozens of powerful and wealthy offenders who need to face justice. So look, everyone's on board now. Everyone understands this. MJ Truth Ultra put this out and said, this is called reverse psychology. President Trump is letting all the Democrats and mainstream media networks talk shit and insinuate that he's hiding his involvement with Epstein. But let me tell you exactly how this is going to end. The P-tapes, Russia collusion, Russia bounties on troops, suckers and losers, very fine people, impeachment number 1, impeachment number 2 hoax, all the indictments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to end the same exact way with Donald Trump vindicated and again on top of the mountain. I learned some time ago that Trump absolutely loves to set traps for the swamp. And here is just one of many examples. Follow along. In August 2019, the Democratic Party, led by Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff, began openly discussing impeaching Trump over his phone call with Ukraine Zelensky for pressuring Ukraine to probe Biden, abusing power and blocking Congress. This went on until September 24, 2019, when Nancy Pelosi, with by Watermelon head Adam Schiff by her side, announced the first formal impeachment inquiry. The day after the impeachment started, Trump said, oopsie, look what I found, and released the transcript. Listen to exactly what Trump says in this video. Adam Schiff, I said, let him lie for a little while. And he lied and got up before Congress, and he said he copied my phone call. Then I said, we have good news for you. We have it on tape. And he died, and so did Nancy Pelosi. And they didn't know what to do because they already set up the impeachment. This is the kind of man we have as president. He allowed the swamp creatures to drag his name in the mud for several months, for maximum exposure to himself, only to slingshot their own corruption back at them at the very last second. And you know what that did? That began to awaken the American people, and Trump support grew stronger. MAGA got stronger. Elon Musk just said Trump is in the Epstein files. And now Democrats are, for the first time ever, calling for the release of the Epstein files. Every day that goes by, more and more people will want the Epstein files and say Trump is in them. You're watching a genius at work. Trump is willing to take the temporary slings and arrows to create maximum exposure for when those files are finally released. Absolutely. And it's becoming very, very clear now. Karma Patriot put this out and said, President Trump, Mike Davis, Cash, Bondi, and others are making it more than obvious that there is an ongoing and sealed criminal grand jury investigation underway that involves the Epstein files, and it must be kept under wraps. But the salivating influencers, jackals, just won't stop. They appear incapable of taking a hint. It's mind-boggling to watch. Absolutely, and I do believe there is a major investigation going on right now. And he's trying to tell everyone, it's going on. I'm not falling for the trap. Let's not do this. Haven't you learned your lesson? Over the last 8 years, I showed you the way. Think logically. And I do believe this is why John Solomon has been telling everyone that there's going to be a special prosecutor. Charlie Kirk put this out and said, John Solomon previews his interview with President Trump, says Trump told him that he supports a deep state special prosecutor, which will include an investigation into Epstein. So that's very interesting. So it looks like we're on our way to this. And Trump doesn't want to fall for the deep state trap. Alpha Warrior put this out and said the following. Epstein files were compromised to frame the innocent, protect the guilty, but Trump already knew. The deep state cabal spanning the Clinton, Obama, and Biden regimes knew exactly what was coming if Trump became president again. They knew Trump was coming back in 2024. They knew that they couldn't rig the election again. They knew the Epstein files would be released under the second term. And they knew that the moment that happened, the global house of cards would collapse. Child trafficking, blackmail, intelligence operations, the entire infrastructure behind the New World Order, gone. So they did what snakes do when cornered. They took a corrupt Epstein investigation and rewrote it. They destroyed the original evidence. They planted new evidence to frame Trump and other white hats. They weaponized the narrative in advance. So when Trump returned, the evidence would show he was guilty, not the real predators like Podesta, Clinton, Huma, Schiff, Schumer, and Obama. But what they didn't expect was that Trump already knew. He knew the investigation was tainted. He knew the files were compromised. He knew the deep state had an endgame strategy to flip the narrative against him. So he played his trump card. Epstein didn't kill himself. He was placed into WITSEC under 18 U.S. Code Section 3521. That's not a theory. That's a strategic application of federal law. Trump secured Epstein, flipped him as an informant, and moved him into witness protection to preserve the truth. Why? Because Trump didn't need the corrupted evidence. He needed the source. Epstein is in the primary witness to the largest RICO investigation ever launched in the U.S. history. A sting operation that will dismantle elite trafficking networks, compromised intelligence agencies, globalist money laundering channels, fake NGOs and human rights fronts, high-value political operatives from both parties, and now the enemy is panicking. Enter Ghislaine Maxwell, a deep state asset activated to run interference, the insurance policy. She's now demanding a deal to testify in front of Congress. Why now? Because they know Epstein flipped, and they know he's not dead. They know the real investigation is closing in. So they sent Ghislaine to corrupt the narrative again, apply pressure to inflame a PSYOP narrative, to implicate Trump and protect the guilty. But notice who she never names. Not Podesta, not Hillary, not Huma, not Adam Schiff, because she's working for them. Remember, Trump and Matt Gaetz said they had a secret weapon in Congress, and Congress knows it. That's why they're pausing the release. That's why Trump calls the Russia hoax all over again, because this is their Hail Mary. They're trying to burn the movement with a final desperate lie. But the trap has already been set. The fake investigation will be exposed, the real one will be revealed, and the RICO takedown will be clean. The psychological battlefield, fake MAGA assets, are the real threat. The deep state knows they can't stop Trump legally, so they're turning to perception warfare. They deployed infiltrators posing as concerned patriots, truth seekers, or Trump skeptics. Their mission? To sow doubt about Trump's motives, to weaponize the Epstein narrative against him, to turn his base against him before the real drop lands. These are not real influencers. They are controlled assets, intelligence-linked accounts, or grifting opportunities. Ask yourself, do they ever amplify Trump wins? Do they ever highlight his record on trafficking takedowns? Do they ever defend the movement? Or do they only ever attack or sow doubt? They use virtue signaling, selective outrage. They pretend to be red-pilled, but they're just useful idiots or worse, intentional operatives. The cover-up is what gets them caught. The compromise evidence was the setup. The fake Epstein suicide was the misdirect. The activation of Ghislaine is the desperation. And the White House counter RICO is the plan. The Trump card is already on the table. The greatest sting in modern history is unfolding. And you're being told exactly what's happening if you have the eyes to see it. Nothing can stop what is coming. Trump isn't just exposing them. He's dismantling them piece by piece. And when the real Epstein evidence drops, it won't be a document. It'll be testimony. So that's going to be very, very interesting. And now, once again, do we know if Epstein's truly alive? Well, it's very interesting that they pointed to that video that has a couple of minutes missing, and people are realizing that Epstein didn't kill himself. So was he moved to a different location? Maybe, maybe not. But I do believe Trump does have an investigation going. I do believe he has witnesses. I do believe there will be real testimony, and it's not going to be the documents that the deep state players have set up. Trump now is countering all of that and exposing it all. Let's go back to post 854, March 6th, 2018. Is the stage set for a drop of Hillary Clinton? A lot of pluses, raw vid, 5x5. We have it all. Stage, the nail in many coffins, liberal undo, impossible to defend, toxic to those connected. We must work together. We are only strong as your voice. You must organize and be heard. This is why they keep you divided and in the dark, weak. We are here to unite and provide truth, dark to light. Evil surrounds us. We are fighting for you. Where we go on, we go all. The choice to know will be yours. End. And yes, as this is coming out, they're going to try to stop this every step of the way. Because again, this I do believe is the topper on the cake, because when you hear everything else and then you see this is how they blackmailed everyone and children are brought into this and you can see what they've done. Well, this is the topper on all of it. And remember post 4599, July 19th, the trilogy, movie 1, the start, how the intelligence apparatus, State Department, and Department of Justice of the United States, in joint effort with our ex-primary foreign allies and other covert assets, as directed by Hussein, in coordination with Hillary Clinton, colluded and conspired to rig the presidential election of 2016 in an effort to install Hillary Clinton framed POTUS, create emergency contingencies, installation of safeguards and firewalls to prevent exposure or continuation of presidency should counter, fail to ensure operators, actors, agents of power, past and present, remain in control and use sources, covert assets of the fake news media to carry out X-frame barrage of strategic, coordinated, guided attacks designed to divide, cover, shelter, justify impeachment, removal in an effort to regain control and prevent public awareness of illegal, criminal, treasonous acts. That's movie 1. Movie 2 coming this fall. Movie 3 to be announced. Enjoy the show. So think about it. They tried to stop him in 2016 with a coup. They overthrew the United States government in 2020. And now you're going to see how they did it all. Post 4904. All 3 movies playing at the same time. Do you find it interesting that everything discussed in the past is somehow making news of late? That's very, very interesting. So I do believe that Trump and the Patriots, they have basically stopped the deep state players. They didn't fall for their trap. And now everything is proceeding to present the real evidence to the people. And once again, you're going to see how they overthrew the United States government, how they were treasonous to this country, how they blackmailed the people. It's all connected. And it's getting worse and worse for the deep state players. And they know that if they lose this midterm election, it is game over. So they're doing everything they possibly can to try to basically gain as many seats as possible. Remember, if they lose the illegals and if the census is changed, they're screwed completely. Scott Braddock put this out and said, Quorum Report has learned U.S. House Democrat leader Jeffries, former AG holder, and DNC Chair Martin were slated to speak to Texas House Democrats, encouraging state lawmakers not to help the GOP redraw congressional districts in Trump's bid to avoid another impeachment. Attorney General Ken Paxton responded to this and said, if Democrats ignore their duty to their constituents by breaking quorum. They should be found and arrested no matter where they go. The people of Texas elected them to do a job, not run away and hide like cowards. Lawmakers must answer the special session call and pass the important priorities that the governor has put forward. My office stands ready to assist local and state and federal authorities in hunting down and compelling the attendance of anyone who abandons their office and their constituents for cheap political theater. So that should tell you everything you need to know right there. They don't want anything redrawn or anything like that, and they're going to lose seats. And this is what they're trying to stop. But Trump let us know that we don't have to worry about Texas. He goes, I have it. This is what he put out. Just spoke to our great congressmen and women of Texas. One of them sent me my results in Texas, and I even didn't know how well I did, but here they are. Won by 1.5 million votes and almost 14%. Also won all the border counties along Mexico, something which has never happened before. I keep hearing about Texas going blue, but is it just another Democrat lie? With the right candidate, Texas isn't going blue anytime soon, and shows the results, and Texas is pretty much all red. And again, the deep state players, the only way they can pull any of this off is with funding. And what's very interesting is that Data Republican is starting to realize this. And this is what she put out. Another preliminary finding is that everyone, and I mean everyone, is dependent on U.S. taxpayer money. Think about that for a second. Why the U.S. taxpayer money? Because the people fund everything that's going on. As more and more money is borrowed from the Federal Reserve, the people have to pay the interest and pay it back. So in reality, the deep state players, they are dependent on the Federal Reserve. They're dependent on this system. She continued, the New World Order collapses if we cut off financing to UN, to State Department, to NED, etc. Absolutely. If we cut off the funding and they have no longer an open-ended credit card, everything that they have in place comes to a complete end. And I do believe that is going to be Trump's last act in all of this. He's going to cut them all off. But first, he has to expose, he has to show who the treasonous criminals are, and he has to build all of this up, which I do believe is happening. Trump is using the art of the deal. He is basically getting strategic positioning. He's using psychological leverage. He's going to have a competitive advantage over them, and he's trapping them in all of this. And he's making it very, very difficult for the deep state players. This is how he does it every single time. And this is why people are confused. This is why people get scared, because they don't understand what he's doing. They think he has no idea what he's doing. Or he thinks he's hiding, or they think he's hiding something. This is what he does to bring out the narrative, and then he hits them in the end. Why do it when they're strong? Do it when they're weak, and you have all the leverage. This is how Trump operates, and I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they are now setting the stage for all of it. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.